Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt. Welcome to the Sin Bin. Now, I know what you're thinking. He has a St. Louis Blues jersey. He's going to be biased. He's not going to give a fair review. You couldn't be further from the truth. I get it. I'm not a Boston Bruins fan. I've never been a Boston Bruins fan. But I will give a fair assessment of this game. I will give credit where credit is due. And without getting too ahead of myself, the Bruins deserve a lot of credit for this win. They just played a fantastic game one. And if they continue to play like this, they will win the Stanley Cup. So, in case you guys are new to the channel, I like to kind of go over the game, go over any relevant information or any relevant plays that I judged happen. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. So, first period starts. Shen gets the first goal for the St. Louis Blues. It was kind of off of a broken play and, goes off a few legs and whatnot. And after that goal, I really noticed that St. Louis had legs, something that you won't hear me say throughout this whole video. But just if you look at the moment after the first St. Louis goal, they kind of started off flat. And after that goal, they were all world. Had they continued like that, they would have probably won the game. But something else happened entirely. So the play continues, we're approaching the end of the period. And then Johansson, he probably got the best chance of the Bruins in that period. He squeezed by the defense and almost scored what could have been a highlight reel goal. But instead it kind of deflected off the post and no goal. So still 1-0 St. Louis. And then, I think it's the second period, Pastrnak with a horrible giveaway. Now, I don't like this play. It's a play that could have been easily avoided. If you really look at Pasternak's face, you could see he's kind of being nonchalant. He's not too aware of his surroundings, and he just thinks, I'm wheeling around. I'm just going to dump it down, and there's going to be a defenseman. And oh boy, could he not have been wrong. In case you guys don't know, Pastrnak is in those Dunkin' Donuts commercial. He could have used a few coffees after that because, hey, that was a lazy play. He should have just wheeled, continued, but long story short, Tarasenko gets the puck, buries it in. He's not going to miss from that far. 2-0 St. Louis. So if I were St. Louis, I would have tightened up, played some defensive hockey because you got a 2-0 lead. A lead that's very dangerous in hockey. We often hear it. There is nothing more dangerous than the 2-0 lead. Let me bring my camera down. Nothing more dangerous than a 2-0 lead. And that was demonstrated because the Boston Bruins eventually tied it up and made it a 2-2 game. Not long after that Tarasenko goal, Clifton, who probably scored the garbage goal of the century, but hey, it don't matter. They all count. So he reduces the lead to 2-1. And then we got to a pretty cool event in the game. So Edmondson kind of gave a cross-check to the neck of David Backes. And was that a good play? Was that a bad play? I'm trying to be completely unbiased here because my whole childhood, Jack Edwards, that girly-headed fuck, he made my childhood miserable. Every time a Canadiens player would go down, he would scream to the mountaintops, diving, diving, diving. And most of the time it wasn't diving. And his team dives the most. Boston, hey, Marshawn, one of the most notorious divers. And I'm trying to be unbiased, but I'm just going to say it. I think Backes went down a little easily. A little bit. And you could kind of see him searching for blood, and obviously there's no blood. And then Edmondson comes around and cross-checks him, and he kind of does like one of those easy, went down easily. So that's that. And that kind of manifested later in the period when there was a scrum in front of Bennington. Edmondson came around and kind of gave a shot to the ribs of Backes. So that was pretty cool. I just love the rivalries. Regardless of who wins, I just love to see intense playoff hockey. I mean, that's just what we live for. That's why we're the fans. Anyway, so after that, I think I forget who it was, Sundqvist, I believe, for the St. Louis Blues took a penalty. And it's about at that time I realized, man, these power plays are lopsided. If you're St. Louis, you got to stay out of the box. And yeah, sure, some of the calls were weak, but overall, if you want to win games, you have to stay out of the box. So Boston eventually scores on that power play. They tied it 2-2. I can't remember who scored for Boston, but all I do remember is that Peter Angelo was the defenseman, and he put his stick in the way and kind of deflected it. And although it kind of looks bad on Bennington's part, he can't really do anything because he thinks the shot is going one way. It deflects off Peter Angelo's stick and goes a completely different way. And if you listen very closely when that goal was scored, you could hear Don Cherry shit his diapers because every coach's corner, Don Cherry talks about two things: how much he loves Curtis McElhinney, and second, how much he hates it when the defenseman tips shots for the goalie. That's the only thing he talks about. And I'm the biggest Don Cherry fan, but it's kind of getting on my nerve because it's like, hey, bro, let's talk about something new. You keep jizzing about Curtis McElhinney and you keep shitting about sticks in the way. Just your diapers are full of jizz and shit. So, Don Cherry, if you're listening, let's just talk about a few new subjects. How about that? So anyway, let's just, moving on. So it's 2-2. The unthinkable happens. Oh, and I forgot to say, I wasn't at home watching this game. I was at Buffalo Wild Wings. And it was a horrible idea to wear this jersey because people were giving me the dirtiest looks, just the absolute dirtiest looks. And I felt like just burying my face into my Parmesan garlic chicken because, I don't know, I felt uncomfortable the whole time. Anyway, so I realized something reoccurring throughout the game. Bennington would kind of freeze the puck, and then 10 Boston Bruin players would just jump on him and start slashing him. The rest were kind of slow when it came to whistling down the puck. And that's kind of leads to the Marshawn situation. So Marshawn kind of comes around the net. He takes off Bennington's blocker. And as much as I hate Marshawn, that was Bennington's fault. Marshawn was kind of just doing his job. He was playing hockey. Bennington is the one who put his blocker in the way. So it's not Marshawn's fault. And Marshawn, as we all know it, he's not just going to take it. He went back to Bennington and gave him a shot. That's just the rat being the rat. And he looks like a rat. So, that's just Marshawn being Marshawn. So Boston's third goal, it came from Corrali. And that proved to be the winning goal. And Corrali, Boston, why I think this team is so dangerous is that, yes, they have Pasternak. Yes, they have Marchand. Yes, they have Bergeron. But the depth on this team is unprecedented. They get goals from, all around. Coyle gets goals. Corrali gets goals. They just strike me as a very, very deep team. And I don't know. I still said St. Louis in 6. I know I didn't make a video, to prove it or anything. But I said St. Louis in 6. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Boston takes this. And there's a lot of fans. I live in New England. There's a lot of fans that would be very happy. You'd see the stock in beer just rise up to the roof. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. And I feel bad for Bennington on that third goal because it kind of all started when he failed to freeze the puck. It kind of just went in his mitt and popped back out. And Bennington, he's a good guy, Even when Marshawn gave him that shot, he kind of just went away, looked away. And I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's this excellent clip where when the Blues were playing Dallas in double overtime, the Blues finally sealed the deal. Patrick Maroon scored in double overtime. And if you look at the camera that was on Bennington, he just left the ice as if it was an intermission, as if he was going to get a pizza. He strikes me as someone that just the stress doesn't face him. The competition doesn't get to him. He's cool and collected. Big Bennington fan. Big Bennington fan. And I wish Edmondson kind of could have tied up Corrali on that play. I know it's easier said than done, and defense is a really hard position. And if you fuck up on defense, it looks extra bad. But you look at the replay, you kind of wish that Edmondson could have gotten a stick or, lifted the stick of Corrali. But hey, long story short, 3-2 Boston. And it was a pretty insane period, to say the least. That third period, if you'd missed the first two, it's not that bad. But that third period, that's where you get your money's worth. There was a play where, what's his name? Torrey Krug, that little fuck Torrey Krug. He got into it with Perron, good old David Perron from Sherbrooke, Quebec. And they kind of got into a wrestling match. And that lit a fire on Krug's ass because later in that shift, he just went up to Robert Thomas and leveled him. And ironically enough, he's the one that lost his helmet, revealing his hipster haircut. And then I like the hit. It wasn't a dirty hit. There is no way in hell that was a dirty hit. And at first, watching it in real time, I saw the speed at which Torrey Krug came and launched himself towards Thomas, and I thought that's charging. But if you really look at the replay, it was a clean hit. He didn't leave his feet. He didn't take any extra steps. It was just a clean hockey hit. What I didn't like, however, is what he did after the hit. So he kind of went to Bennington and started heckling him and, heckling the team. And just, I don't know. I feel that the reason why I'm so hesitant about it is that if you make a hit like that and then go heckle the goalie, you're just putting a target on your back, And Krug isn't the biggest guy. We saw him in the Toronto series getting leveled by Muzzin. What does Muzzin do? He leaves. No heckling. He didn't go to the Boston goalie. That would have been stupid. But it was kind of to the benefit of Krug because it was the end of the period practically. So they didn't have time for retribution. I would like to see how it transpires into the next game. Like, I don't know. If I were playing hockey, I wouldn't stand for that. You can't level one of my star players, my star young prospect players, and then go heckle the goalie. But if you're looking at it from a Boston Bruins perspective, he's just doing his job, and he did it to perfection. And look, I'm not a Torrey Krug fan. I think that the hit he gave to Andrew Shaw is kind of unforgivable, but I can't deny he's a good player. And for a small player, he just does his job very, very well. And undrafted too, so that's very admirable. And later in the period, Sammy Blais takes a bad penalty on Coyle, who's yet again proving to be a really, really good deadline acquisition. Same for Johansson, I might add. And long story short, they didn't score on that power play, but it's bad for St. Louis because that's 2 minutes that you could score on Rask, but that's 2 minutes that they took away because Boston was on the power play. So long story short, time winding down, Boston takes out the goalie, and it wasn't a really suspenseful ending. Marshawn just flips it in and then scores once they're in the offensive zone. So I kind of would have wished there was more suspense to the ending, kind of more of a thriller-esque game, but hey, it is what it is. I was overall very entertained. There were some games in these Stanley Cup playoffs that were just clunkers, but I overall think I got my money's worth. And I'm not just talking about the excellent chicken wings, from Buffalo Wild Wings. Just the game itself was a very, very good game. And so I think I went over all of it. One thing I would like to add, however, before I end this expert video, is that the end of the game, there was kind of a scrum, and I think that's a prelude to what's to come in the second game. You could tell the teams are building hate for each other, and at some point they're going to hit a boiling point, and everything's going to tip over. And it's bad news if you're a player, but if you're a fan and you're just watching the game, it just makes for great, great hockey. And hey, that's all we're asking for in the ending, just good, entertaining hockey. And we don't want the refs to fuck it up like they did in the San Jose series, okay? But the refs could have been better this game, but overall, nothing really controversial. I would have liked to seen St. Louis have a little more bite in their game. Just it seems like after Boston's first goal, I don't know if they even shot on Rask at the end of that second period. I just wanted them to have a little bit more bite in their game, but it's only game one. If you're a St. Louis fan, don't be all up in arms. It's not the end. And same if you're a Boston fan, don't expect to be winning the cup. This is just game one. Let's temper expectations. We'll see what happens from there. So my name was Matt. Thank you so much for listening to this video if you've made it to the end. If not, well, oh well, too bad for you. If you like this type of content and any content I've made throughout the day, please like and subscribe. There's definitely more to come. I try to shoot out these videos as often as I can. I obviously have a pretty hectic schedule, but any time off I get, I'm making a video. So please like so I can make more content, hopefully make a little money out of this. I see these little Chinese kids, reviewing toys and they get 40 million views or something. I figure, why can't I do it? So thank you very much. My name is Matt, signing off.